How much do you know about punctuation writing at level 1? We have full stops, commas, question marks, exclamation marks, but we also have some other punctuation marks. For example, we have colons, semicolons, brackets or parentheses, a dash, an apostrophe, and ellipses. So let's think about how these work in writing. First of all, full stops and capitals. Now you should know already, a full stop is used at the end of each sentence, and you need to use a capital letter after every full stop. Look at this example. What do you think needs to be corrected here? That's right. The letter Y should have been a capital to begin the sentence. Notice that sentences can follow each other across the line. Also, you don't need to start a new sentence on a new line every time, unless, of course, it's a new paragraph. Finally, remember that you also don't need to use a new capital letter at the beginning at every line. Look at this example. Every is in the middle of the sentence. It does not need a capital letter. Let's look at other reasons for capital letters. We also use them for the names of people and places. Here are some examples. London, not the London, remember, Liverpool. Here are some names: Jenny, Dua Lipa, Hugh Jackman, Buckingham Palace. We do not use capitals in the middle of sentences for random words. Example: when I saw the garden, I was really disappointed with the mess. Now, garden and mess are just ordinary common nouns. They don't need to have capitals in the middle of the sentence. This is wrong. Here's another example. Whenever the bus service is late, people complain. Again, service and people are just ordinary common nouns. No need for capitals here. Let's think about commas. There are different reasons to use commas, and here are some examples. First of all, to separate a list. I need to get some suntan cream, sunglasses, sandals, and shampoo for my holiday. We also need commas to make the meaning clear. Look at this sentence. Let's eat, Grandma. What? Or, let's eat, Grandma. All right. With a comma, it's an invitation to eat. Without a comma, no one's suggesting you're going to eat Grandma, surely. This will help make your meaning clear. Thirdly, to add extra information. The house, which was built in the 19th century, was quite small. Can you see there's a comma at the beginning and at the end of that little clause? This is separating it out so you can see the extra information. Or finally, to separate longer clauses in a sentence. When we finally arrived at the hotel, our room was not ready. So you have two separate sentences here really, but that comma is separating out the extra long clause. What about questions and exclamation marks? Every question needs a question mark. Are you coming to see me next week? Why don't you join a new class? What happened to you? Can the council really not find enough money to pay for repairs? Exclamations show surprise, horror, anger. They are all strong reactions. Guess what? I was so surprised. The view was amazing. Your staff are incredibly rude. Everything with an exclamation mark is a strong reaction. What other punctuation could you use? There's the colon, that's used for lists. And there's the semicolon, that's used to join separate sentences. Let's look at how these work. The colon. So use the colon to introduce a list after an independent clause. Let's look at this first example. I have visited many different countries. I have visited France, Germany, Spain, Italy, and Greece. Well, you could take out I have visited and you could write it like this. I have visited many different countries. Then you're going to put the colon. Here it comes. And then you just write your list. I have visited many different countries. France, Germany, Spain, Italy, and Greece. It does make it look more interesting. Here's a second example. I use the library regularly for a number of reasons. And this is followed by the colon, and then here are the reasons. To borrow books, use the Wi-Fi, attend book clubs and workshops. Now let's look at the semicolon. Now, as we said, the semicolon is used to join sentences, and they are usually sentences that are related in some way. Let's look at this first example. I love chocolate, full stop. It's my favourite food. Now you could make this a lot more interesting if you change it to a colon. Look at the example. I love chocolate. It's my favourite food. The effect of using the semicolon will link the two sentences more carefully and also give emphasis to one part of the sentence. You can also use it to replace conjunctions. Look at this second example. I love chocolate, so I bought some earlier today. Where is the conjunction? That's right, it's so. Now, if we take this out, we can replace it with a semicolon and look at the effect. I love chocolate. I bought some earlier today. You have linked these two sentences quite carefully, and one will depend on the other. You bought some earlier today because you love it. Let's look at the next example. I went to the concert, but the sound was poor. The conjunction is but. If we remove it, look what happens. I went to the concert. The sound was quite poor. Semicolons can be used to really strengthen the meaning of what you want to say. Try them sometime. What else could we do? Well, we have brackets. These are generally called brackets, but in fact their correct name is parentheses. That's a really hard word to remember. It's okay to call them brackets. You have a dash. You have the dots, which are called ellipses. And you have the apostrophe, which you should already be clear on using. So brackets and dashes. Brackets add extra information. Look at the example. I don't tell people secrets. Then you have the bracket. But I would if I could. Now imagine that you're putting your hands around your mouth here and whispering that secret. That's the effect of brackets. Extra information, but sometimes it's secret. Dashes will have the same effect. Look at how it looks on the page here. I don't tell people secrets, dash, but I would if I could. Now, you'll quite often find dashes used more informally. People will write them in letters and emails and texts. Let's have a look at ellipsis. This is the dot, 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 or you can imagine it as da, da, da. There's some drama here. This is when you have a cliffhanger, something that you haven't explained, something you haven't finished. Look at the example. We kept walking until suddenly, da, da, da. Can you imagine what happened? Who knows? And here are some examples, I think, of apostrophes. Yeah. Here we have, what's the matter? Why do we use that apostrophe with what's? It is, of course, because it's a contraction. You have made what is the matter into what's the matter. Another example is for possessives. I just saw my friend's dog, and here the apostrophe is used to explain the dog of the friend. Here's a further example of contraction. I've forgotten my lunch. Oh no. So I've is a short form of I have, and the apostrophe shows the missing letters. So you have lots of examples of punctuation. It's essential to make your meaning clear in written work. You have a full stop, a comma, a question mark, an exclamation mark, a colon, a semicolon, brackets, a dash, apostrophe, and ellipsis. All of these could be used in your writing. At level 1, I would very much like to see examples of colons, brackets, and dashes.
You need basic punctuation because it gives shape and meaning to your writing. It's like a kind of code that we understand when we read. So don't forget your basic punctuation. Full stops, commas, questions and exclamation marks. And let's get those capital letters correct. And then for level 1, we'd really like to see something a bit more developed. So it's great if you can learn how to use colons and semicolons or brackets or dashes. Now this does take time. So first of all, do your research and practice using them. Secondly, don't feel that you have to throw in everything that you know in one piece of writing. Once you've learnt how to use all these types of punctuation, then use them when the right context or situation presents itself. Otherwise, you will look like you're trying a bit too hard, or, and that's worse, you'll end up using them wrongly. Finally, remember, this was just a quick tour of useful punctuation suitable for ESOL Level 1. It's not necessarily a comprehensive list. You can probably find much more detailed websites all about it. But for now, it looks like it's time to practice what you've just learned. Bye for now.